Right, Sifuna's name still on the headlines on the front page of the Daily Nation. They're now looking at big losers in Sifuna's rise. Ni kama ile ya budget. Unajua a day after the budget is ready, wasemanga winners and losers.
Yeah.
So they're looking at the losers, big losers in Sifuna's rise as a big headline. A year ago, it would have seemed far-fetched to suggest that Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna would wield enough political influence to unsettle established politicians. But they say the 44-year-old lawyer, renowned for his gift of the gab, has taken national politics by storm, driving a movement that threatens to disrupt entrenched networks and usher in a new order. Although he has yet to formally declare his presidential candidacy, opinion polls rank him among the front-runners, with his surge rattling both the government and opposition heavyweights. So on the government side, those who appear to have lost or rattled include the president, his deputy, the number 3, the number 4, party leader ODM, and chairman of ODM. I think, hey, hawa ni kila mtu. This is everyone in government.
Yeah. Because
you put the president, his deputy, the speaker of the National Assembly, the prime cabinet CS, that all these are the big losers in Sifuna's rise. Party leader ODM, chairperson ODM Gladys Wanga as well. On the other side of the opposition, all the top luminaries appears to have lost. Wamalwa of the DAP-K, Kalonzo Musyoka, Fred Matiang'i, Gachagua, Karua. Interestingly, Ndindi Nyoro. And people are asking, okay, what happened to Ndindi Nyoro? Because, okay, fine, his star appeared to have been rising even faster. Then Sifuna katoka huko sijui na pikipiki gani, akuja mpita uweng. Now people are asking, okay, what happened to Ndindi Nyoro? Where is he? Who's talking about Ndindi Nyoro? Yeah.
What has he done?
Yeah, probably, if you ask me, that's the biggest loser. But I think it's a bit of a miscalculation on his part. He stayed too silent, probably on the fence, for a bit too long, without declaring his interest, without declaring his next move. Then people have simply forgotten about him. People are now talking about Sifuna. Yeah? Ndindi Nyoro, where are you? Biggest losers in Sifuna's rise. So this story has been covered on page 4. The big political losers, efforts to kick Mr. Sifuna from ODM for opposing election deal with UDA has catapulted him to national fame. Yes, even as the ODM goes ahead and reshuffles its Senate positions. Yeah, because that story is on page 5, the next page. A chairperson of a committee is entitled to about 15,000 sitting allowance, capped at 240,000 a month. So what Senator Sifuna Onosotsi stand to lose after reshuffle of House committees? A reshuffle of House committees has stripped Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna and his Vihiga colleague Godfrey Osotsi of influential parliamentary positions, denying them powerful oversight roles and reducing their influence in the House and costing them allowances. So they're losing quite a lot, but gaining elsewhere, politically. Yeah. Back to the front page. Interesting stories here. Row over 20 billion shilling benefits for civil servants and teachers. The government has been sued over insurance benefits exceeding 20 billion shillings owed to families of dead or disabled public servants, including teachers and police officers. A petition before the High Court in Nairobi blames successive governments for failure to provide mandatory insurance cover and settle death, disability, and work injury claims for hundreds of thousands of civil servants. They simply do not pay them. That's a problem with the government. You're supposed to be guaranteed compensation in case of death or disability. This includes for police officers, teachers, other civil servants. They're simply not paid. So some families have been waiting for years for money from government because their kin died, probably out while on duty, or some of them because there was insurance and they were entitled to this compensation. Years later, hiyo pesa haikuji. Na wanangojea hiyo pesa at least ndo wa move on.
Hiyo pesa inaenda wapi? Yeah.
Sad indeed. You know, failure by the government just to actually budget for it, it means you'll never get it. Looming public health paralysis. Yes, the KMNUN, ile inaitwa Kenya Nurses and Midwives Union. Nurses have joined an ongoing strike by other health workers, deepening a crisis that has disrupted operations in public hospitals nationwide. We've covered this story on TV47, and I do not know why in Kenya such a story is not the big headline. If doctors were on strike, shouldn't it be the biggest headline? Nurses are on strike. Ni kastori kadogo pale chini kwa kona. Elsewhere, MPs back bill to control matatu fares. We were discussing this just before the show. Yeah. Lawmakers are closer to enacting a law they say will restore sanity to the public transport sector and rein in TSV owners who exploit commuters. Can they really? Yes. This is a capitalist system. We do not even regulate public transport. So why would you tell a matatu owner this is what you can charge? Itawaka kweli? Atakwambia tu usiingie gari kama una hii pesa hii.
Tafuta gari yako.
Tembea. Anyway, that story is on page 8. You can read more about it. Yeah, NMG, Uganda gets regulators not to resume business. They still haven't started. Yeah, that story about nurses, at least it's been given coverage on page 3 of this paper, the entire page. Public health paralysis looms as medics strike. Who pairs with whom in 2027? Opposition's ticket dilemma. That's a story we've been observing for quite a long time. Is it Kalonzo, Sifuna, Kalonzo, Matiang'i? Okay. And it's just Matiang'i, Kalonzo, Sifuna that they are being talked about. That story is on page 7. What
happened to Maraga?
I don't know why Maraga has been forgotten, and Wamalwa. Or even Martha Karua. Martha Karua insists she is going for the presidency, but she's not being considered, according to this paper. I do not know why. All right. MPs support bill seeking to control matatu fares. That's a story. Lawmakers say it is time to bring sanity to the public sector. Yeah, members of parliament are inching closer to passing a bill to give the National Transport and Safety Authority powers to regulate fares charged by public transport vehicles. What do you think about that proposal? Yeah, you've seen what EPRA does. That's a problem about it. EPRA ndo wanaongeza hata global prices ikianguka chini au bado wako hapa juu. So NTSA wakipoyo kazi hata when things get favorable bado wao wanasema charge this much. Chunga sana. On the back page, matters Commonwealth Games. The men's 800-meter semi-finals are set for today. And Nyaga dream to uphold Kenya's legacy in women's 5,000 meters race. You remember WAFCON? WAFCON are supposed to be playing today. Kenyan team, Starlets seek redemption against physical Senegal. That game to be played today. After that 4-0 drubbing by Morocco, Senegal is next tonight. That's the Daily Nation today.
All right, Taifa Leo, Sifuna is still the main story here. Ndio kwa main headline katika kurasa mbele ya gazeti hili. Sifuna aharibu hesabu. Umaarufu wa ghafla wa kisiasa seneta Nairobi Edwin Sifuna sasa umetetemesha viongozi wengi serikalini na upinzani. Katika upinzani kwa mfano, wale waliokaa kitako wakijua watapeperusha bendera mwaka ujao wameanza kuhofia mustakabali wao wa kisiasa. Wanaotajwa kuathirika ni pamoja na kinara wa Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka, naibu kiongozi wa Jubilee Fred Matiang'i, mkuu wa mawaziri Musalia Mudavadi aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua, Eugene Wamalwa, Speaker Moses Wetangula, Martha Karua miongoni mwa wengine. Seneta Nairobi alazimu vigogo wa kisiasa kupangua mikakati huku baadhi wakimtaja moto wa karatasi. Ni habari katika ukurasa wa pili.
Hao wenye wanamuita moto ya karatasi ni wale wanamuogopa zaidi. You know when you want to dismiss someone. Naambia hakuna kitu. Mimi nitakupiga. Vitisho baridi. Hizo ndio vitisho baridi.
That is a story on page 2. Vidokezo zaidi, huenda NTSA ikadhibiti nauli nchini. Bunge la karibia kupitisha sheria kuruhusu mamlaka hiyo kuidhinisha nauli kwa magari ya umma. Habari hiyo tumezungumzia katika gazeti nyingine, but I think it will be a win to the consumers, just a loss to, you know, operators, matatu operators, if it happens. It's still a bill. Koti ya piga magavana kumbo imeamua maseneta wana haki kupata moja kwa moja stakabadhi kuhusu zabuni miradi ya maendeleo. Ni habari katika kurasa wa 4. Maandamano ya kumpinga Tshisekedi. Maelfu waandamana Goma na Bukavu DRC kupinga kiongozi huyo kubadilisha katiba awanie urais tena. That's is on page 8, international news. Hospitali nchini kulemazwa, wauguzi wakianza mgomo. Habari hiyo pia tumezungumzia, ni habari katika ukurasa wa 3 wa gazeti la Taifa Leo. Kule juu on the top strip, dakika za mwisho za afisa aliyejiua. Familia na polisi wenzake Bosibori wajiuliza maswali kuhusu kifo chake cha ghafla. Na FIFA motoni kuhusu hisa za World Cup imekosolewa kwa kupanga kuanzisha shirika la kusimamia kombe la dunia. Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Alright, kutoka kwa gazeti la Taifa Leo, let's take a look at the Standard. Hidden hand and a cold shoulder. They're still talking about the position of Deputy President. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki's political fortunes appear to be unraveling with startling speed. Once projecting authority as President William Ruto's trusted lieutenant, he now finds himself isolated, undermined, and stripped of key responsibilities as rival SACCO. But he insists nothing has changed. Yet the loudest statement is not coming from his critics, but from President Ruto's silence. As his deputy comes under political assault, Ruto has neither defended nor reassured him, fueling speculation that Kindiki has been left to fend for himself, even as ODM Deputy Leader Wycliffe Oparanya's influence steadily grows. That story is on page 4. And I've seen government bloggers now running wild on social media. Jana, there was a meeting, a very serious meeting, I think a security or cabinet meeting at State House. So the photographers looked for any photo where the president was with his deputy. Kuna mmoja wamepigwa picha wamesimama mahali wakiongea and the deputy is carrying files and talking to his boss. Now they're doing that, they're spreading those photos everywhere and saying kazi kama kawaida, kazi kama kawaida. Trying to just counter the narrative that there's a problem between the two. Well, let to jicho tu tunaona. Time will tell. So they have images there of President William Ruto feeding cake to the ODM party leader, the deputy president there, and the ODM, the gentleman who has been proposed as a possible running mate for President Ruto come 2027, Wycliffe Oparanya. So that's a big story there on page 4. Ruto's hand in Kindiki's tribulations amid tension in cabinet. You remember even last time when Rigathi Gachagua was about to be impeached, the president remained very silent. Aunge? Hatitei, At some point akasema no, there is no such thing, and then he went silent, only for the impeachment to happen. So the president remains tight-lipped. Yes, we do have, kuna ile picha inatembezwa sana. Yes, you see how far the cameraman is. Anasema now that's a very friendly discussion between the president and his deputy. This is the best they could get. Wamekaa huko wameangalia huko, hujui kama mmoja analia, hujui kama anasomewa, you don't know, lakini wanasema kazi inaendelea.
Fake news.
Kazi inaendelea, hatujui wanazungumzia nini. This definitely cannot tell the story because either way he's still deputy president. He could be receiving instructions. Anaweza kuwa anaambiwa wewe sasa nimemalizana na wewe, kwaheri na usinisumbue tena. You never know. Yeah, you never know. But that's a picture that government bloggers are sharing online currently. All right, let's move on to other stories. At least the Standard is talking about drought on page 2 and 3. How climate smart farming is making Taita a rice powerhouse. Drought bites as state steps up water projects at the coast. And this El Nino warning. Crop failure now, El Nino follows. Kenya's farmers brace for another disaster. And for the first time I'm seeing the Minister for Agriculture, Mutahi Kagwe, appearing on the papers. He's been very quiet, very quiet. This, in the previous government, he was a very vocal CS for health, especially around COVID. I don't know what happened to him now. He's a CS for agriculture, the backbone of the economy, but perhaps the most quiet of all cabinet secretaries. Led to jicho too. Anyway, El Nino is coming. More stories here inside Ruto's bid to court Kalonzo as running mate. Mambo inachemka. Hiyo story on page 7.
Kalonzo is also suspiciously quiet.
Okay. Hata akiwa quiet, does it mean now that he's the best suited for a running mate for William Ruto?
Well, speculations are there.
For remaining quiet?
People will talk.
Anyway. Kule nyuma. WAFCON, it is a do or die for Harambee Starlets, as told you earlier, 8 p.m. tonight. Kenya, the Kenyan team, faces Senegal, and then Morocco is facing Algeria later on at 11 p.m. Kenya hoping to do better than what they did against Morocco. That 4-0 drubbing, that pain is still there. So Starlets, all the best tonight. That's the Standard rather.
People Daily
newspaper.
People Daily, the bill that could shake Kenya's economy. That is a local content bill. They say it takes center stage in Parliament amid fears over investment, jobs and economic growth. A controversial bill that seeks tough controls for foreign firms that want to do business in Kenya is taking center stage in Parliament, while drawing wide criticism from economic experts. And the Local Content Bill 2025, which has been mooted by Laikipia Woman Representative Jane Kagiri, has been described as one of the most ambitious economic proposals in recent Kenyan history. Now, the bill goes tough on foreign firms, requiring them to have at least 80% of their employees being Kenyans, source 100% of their raw agricultural materials locally, and derive at least 60% of their goods and services within Kenyan borders. That's what the Local Content Bill is about, and that story is on page 8. You can read more about it in the People Daily. Kindiki or Kalonzo, Ruto's big decision. Yes.
So it's Kindiki or Kalonzo now.
People Daily has talked about it on page 4.
It's been there. It's there on the Standard. They're talking about Kalonzo as well. Going with Ruto. Sio sisi tunasema ni magazeti.
Yeah.
Na mimi hakuna gazeti nimeandika hii wiki. Isipokuwa ile ya internal.
Can Sifuna win Gen Z in 2027? That's another story on page 2. Can they? Can Sifuna win Gen Z in 2027? That's the People Daily.
Right, from the People Daily, let's take a look at the Star. Jitters in ODM over dwindling party fortunes. Mealy says party losing support in key bases, but the party leader insists they're still strong in as far as their preparations for a coalition with UDA, and they're still demanding for the deputy president's position. Yesterday they were talking tough in Turkana. We have that story. Wanasema sisi kwa hiyo, it's either Ruto comes and joins ODM, so that he can give UDA the deputy party deputy position, or Kindiki joins ODM, then we can allow him to be the deputy president. So it's either way.
Yeah, it's either president vies for presidency through ODM.
Through ODM. Yeah. It could, anything is possible. So that's the main story on page 6. Governor wa Nyandarua badilisha it comes to DCP amid Mount Kenya shifting tide. Huyu sifikiri alikuwa na choice after what he saw in Olkalau in his own county. Ilibidi tu. It was just a matter of time. So the story on page 4 and 5, they talk about how the movements have been. DCP won Olkalau immediately. Murang'a Governor Kang'ata joined DCP. Then now Nyandarua Governor Badilisha has joined DCP. 24 MCAs have already defected from UDA to DCP. Gachagua signals more governors will follow. Has the exodus begun? That's the main story there. Kule nyuma, moment of truth, Gor Mahia out to seal Sekafa Kagame Cup semi-final slot against Garde. And Nabuire back Starlets to bounce back despite Morocco defeat. That's a game to be played at 8 p.m. tonight against Senegal. Star, fresh, independent, different. Grab yourself a copy of this paper for only 60 bob.
Business Daily, Public Service Commission issues ultimatum to Ketraco over CEO's fight. This is board ordered to respond to petition for acting CEO removal, and petitioner argues KBS has overstayed in role. Investors mint 132 billion shillings from bond sales in 6 months. That's another story on page 2. Investors who sold their treasury bonds on the secondary market at the Nairobi Bourse made a profit of 132 billion shillings after falling returns on new issuances triggered a surge in prices and demand for older, higher return papers. On the ticker, Citi says investors upbeat about Kenya's economic outlook. Kenya relines up 1.5 billion shillings for Tanzania, Rwanda and India entry, and borrowers get one benchmark rate for loan costs comparison. That's the Business Daily.
All right. Let's take a look at the regional papers now. Away from Kenya, we start off with Uganda. The New Vision is still very slow in sharing their e-paper online. They finally done it a few seconds ago, so I can see it. An American has testified against Besigye. Yesterday, Kiza Besigye was in court for his court hearings. It was so sad. I watched a video of Besigye now shouting in court and saying, this cannot happen. I've been behind bars for more than a year now, going to a year and a half, almost 2 years. Nothing is moving. Nothing is happening. He complained. He kept on shouting until he collapsed in court. Very sad indeed. So Besigye, a big discussion in Uganda. Moving to Tanzania now. And we start off with The Citizen, a big paper in Tanzania, talks about what CCM reshuffle signals ahead of 2027 internal polls. Now, The Citizen is the equivalent of Business Daily in Tanzania. Wanazungumzianga masuala ya biashara, lakini leo imebidi wazungumzie masuala ya chama tawala, Chama cha Mapinduzi. So the ruling CCM's decision to reshuffle its national secretariat and approve a roadmap for its 2027 internal elections has been interpreted by political analysts as a strategic move to strengthen the party's organizational structure and prepare for major internal political exercise. That's a big story there in Tanzania. Habari ni ile ile kwenye gazeti la Mwananchi ukurasa wa mbele. Tukisalia kule Bongo, CCM yafyeka vigogo 4 sekretariati. Ni naibu makatibu wakuu bara na Zanzibar, wamo makatibu wa fedha, organizationi, Agri Mwandri arejea kivingine, wachambuzi watia neno. Na kuna kilio kupunguza ujazo gesi kwenye mitungi. Unanunua gesi unapata hii kujaa. That's a common problem across, even in Kenya. But gazeti la Mwananchi imeipa kipaumbele habari hiyo. So those are the regional and local dailies. Let's come back home and take a look at the cartoons. Here, the one on the Daily Nation has, let me call them entities. Rigathi Gachagua.